What if I told you there were wars so deadly that they wiped out entire generations, destroyed civilizations, and left scars that the world still feels today? Some of these wars are well known, while others are shocking stories that history almost forgot. But all of them share one thing: they claimed millions of lives. Stick around, because today, we're counting down the top 5 deadliest wars in human history, and I promise, number 1 will leave you speechless. Let's dive in. Number 5. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953. Known as the Forgotten War, the Korean War was anything but forgettable. In just 3 years, over 3 million people lost their lives. It started when North Korea, with support from China and the Soviet Union, invaded South Korea, backed by the United States and United Nations forces. The violence was relentless. Cities were leveled by bombs. Civilians were caught in the crossfire, and the cold winters turned battlefields into frozen graveyards. And here's the haunting part: the war technically never ended. Even today, North and South Korea remain divided, living under the shadow of a conflict that began over 70 years ago. Number 4. World War I, 1914 to 1918. The war to end all wars, they called it. But they were wrong. World War I introduced the world to a new kind of horror. Trench warfare, machine guns, poison gas. These were weapons of death that no one had seen before. Over 20 million lives were lost in just 4 years. Soldiers lived and died in trenches filled with mud, rats, and disease. Entire cities were bombarded, and civilians faced starvation as empires crumbled. But perhaps the saddest part, the so-called peace that followed only paved the way for an even deadlier war 2 decades later. Number 3. The Taiping Rebellion, 1850 to 1864. This might surprise you. It's not a global war, but a civil war in China that claimed over 30 million lives. The Taiping Rebellion was led by a man who believed he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ. Yes, you heard that right. Hong Xiuquan rallied millions of followers to overthrow the Qing dynasty and establish a heavenly kingdom. But what followed was 14 years of unimaginable carnage. Villages were burned to the ground, starvation spread like wildfire, and disease killed even more than the battles. The scale of this war was so devastating that it remains one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. Number 2. World War II, 1939 to 1945. World War II wasn't just a war. It was a nightmare for the entire world. Over 70 million people lost their lives, including 6 million innocent Jews in the Holocaust. From the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of the Pacific, battles raged on every continent. Cities like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were obliterated in seconds, leaving behind shadows of those who perished. This war wasn't just about soldiers. It was about humanity itself. Families were torn apart, nations were reduced to rubble, and the horrors of concentration camps revealed the darkest side of human nature. Number 1. The Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937 to 1945. Here's the war most people don't talk about, but it's the deadliest in history after World War II. The Second Sino-Japanese War took over 25 million lives, mostly civilians. It was a brutal conflict between China and Japan, filled with unimaginable atrocities. The Nanking Massacre alone saw hundreds of thousands of civilians slaughtered in weeks. Bombings, scorched earth tactics, and famine devastated entire regions. And here's the shocking twist. This war merged into World War II, making the suffering even more widespread. Conclusion: wars like these remind us of the price humanity pays for power and conflict. Each number on this list represents not just statistics, but lives, families, communities, and dreams lost forever. If you made it this far, thank you for taking the time to remember these stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Let's honor the past by learning from it, so we never repeat it.